Isabel. Bidin. So, our dear Lord in heaven, we thank you so much for this Sabbath day. Thank you for the opportunity given us. Come and accept our stand your understanding of the session. Thank you for the invitation of the movie. Thank you for the truths. Now then, this understanding both intellectually and spiritual. We invite your holy presence. You are able to come and dine with us. In Jesus' name I pray. So niko na mama kidogo alikuwa natakiwa kukimbia nilikuwa kidogo. So I want I want us to do to remind ourselves of Daniel chapter number 11, 45. I require everybody to have their Bibles. Given the current development of the school, I saw it wise to come and review what we learned about Daniel the first slide and later on we see how those verses are becoming fulfilled before our eyes. So Daniel 11, 14 to 45, we know these are the last verses of the rise and fall of the king of the north. We will do some verse number 40. So I will read the and one platform on the board. And the thing that I'm using with the G so when I most is this information that this information is spoken. That it's I have sorry, I have the notes. Okay. So from the 955,000. So let's start to that 1140. So we say that 1140 has two parts. Okay. Why do we say it has two parts? This is start on. So let's begin with this part. Why do we say we have two parts in that 1140? Just the provider. Have a value. Then grab a calculator. Why do we say we have two parts in that 1140? We have a column numbers. We have a column and calculator. So then so we begin with verse 40. So verse number 40, can everyone see a column? That column separates two phrases. So the first one and the second one. So we say that 11 number 40 as part A and part B. Let's go to Daniel 11 to 1. Using the same idea. How many parts do we have in Daniel 11 to 1? Don't have a Bible. So, I'm going to begin with I'm going to see I'm going to see you can share. So, first number 31, how many parts? Okay, how many parts? Parts. So, first number 31, I will consistently A and B. I don't want to write out symbols here. So, we have part A and part B. Let's go to first number 42. How many parts? Two parts. Because how? So part A and part B. Let's go to first number 43. Joe. How many parts?
There is no colon to the semicolon.
What number?
43.
43. Do we have a colon or semicolon? We are using yes. So part A and B. Verse 44. How many parts? Verse 44, we have part A and B. Verse 45. Please pronounce with us. 45, how many parts? 3. 2. 2. In 45, what do we have? We have a semicolon. Come to the semicolon later. So let me say 1. So Daniel 12:1. Column. How many parts? What one? Daniel 12:1. 3 parts. Is everyone okay with 3 parts? Yeah. Okay. We have part A, B, and C. Now, where do we place Daniel 11:40 part A? It is 17 and 8. So I say this is 40. A. Where do we place 40B? 89. So this is 40 B. So fast forward to here. Where do we mark Daniel 12:1? Usually. Where do we mark Daniel 12:1? COP. But I want us now to read that 12:1. So 12:1. 12:1. So I have marked 40A here. B. I have jumped all this. I have gone to the last one, Daniel 12:1. So read for us part A, Daniel 12:1.
And at that time, Michael stand up in eight wings standing for the temple of God.
So part A, where do we think they mark? Yes, sister. A.
Me.
Yeah. In our reform. Part A. COP. Kila sawa na hiyo. So this is Daniel 12. 12 verse 1, but A. Read for us part B.
There shall be time of trouble, such as never was, since there was a nation even at that same time.
Sabina, what do you think we can place part B?
But it's right after COP.
After COP.
Yes.
So usually in our reform line we mark time and trouble in Europe. Okay? Right? So we say it's a period. So from here to here. So this is 12, 1, B. Read for us at C.
And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in that.
Right. What do you think we can place at C? Good. Is everyone okay with that? So this is 12 verse 1, but now that C. So you can have, so God's people are delivered. If you read the book of great controversy, so they are delivered well. Yeah, secondly. So we've done the last, Daniel chapter number 12, verse 1, A, B, and C. Now this is where we get time of trouble. So in there, let's reach them once. So we have here time of trouble. So here we have the inference. And here my people stands up. Now, Daniel 11:41. Where do we usually mark it? Daniel 11:41. Where do we place it? So I hope kila mtu anaelewa mbona nimeandika hapa X and C. Because here we have yes, and we have not come with a here yet. So I have written X and Z, and these are titles. We don't have a title here, and I will explain why. So Daniel 11:41, where do we place it without going to A and B? So we say Daniel 11:41 here. Okay, so this is Daniel 11:41. Now, in the book of Daniel, in the camp, I speaking a step on how we come up with these waymarks. And we know this waymark we created 2001. So the waymark Sandero is in the inspiration. And what can give you can do a study of the Bible mark of this waymark here. This is inspiration, and this is inspiration together with 1989, because you have 1798, it's a twin sister to 1989. So this is the only way mark, which is outside inspiration 2001. You can't pick it from inspiration. And Daniel chapter number 11, 40 to 45. This is the only way mark we don't have an event mentioned. Daniel 11, 40. Okay, because we can mark 40A, this one, 40B, 41. We have Daniel 12, and this one we can have a lot of classes to mark here. So this is a way mark which is Harbinger or a stepping stone. This handle here. So that's why you can make a question mark. So when we read now Daniel 11, 40 to 45, we see this is the final rise of the king of the north, final rise and fall of the king of the north. And we have how many obstacles? It's going to come down. So I want to say in the book of Daniel, chapter number 11, 40 to 45, is going to form obstacles. So in the process of conquering the three obstacles, I will show you the fourth obstacle later on in our study. So where do we see the beginning of the conquering of the first obstacle? Who is the first obstacle? The king of the south. The beginning, where do we see the beginning? Now it's the points. The beginning of the conquering of the king of the south. 1989. So I will write here, king of the south as an expected. The second one is the glorious land. Now, I'm glad here. Where do we mark the beginning of the conquering of the targets? The second is the glorious land. That's the beginning. And the end. Because we have the beginning of the conquering of the king of the south begins 1989 and is dead at Sunday. Now, let's go to the third obstacle. The third obstacle is Egypt. The beginning of conquering of Egypt. I know these obstacles, the events happening here, we can write all the obstacles that being conquered, beginning to be conquered from 1989, but I want a way marker, so a way mark. And we can make an argument for that, like this one here. We know from Daniel 11, 1 to 39, the king of the north conquers the obstacles one after the other. Okay? So I want to bring that here. So we have the king, the king of the south begins here. And then the third obstacle is Egypt. Where do we see the king of the north now beginning to conquer Egypt? Sunday. So I will write here Egypt. E for Egypt. Let me write. Now, so we write Egypt here, and sometimes in our studies we say this is worldwide Sunday. No. So by the time we come to the COP, we know Egypt as an obstacle is done away with. So where do we place now FD? Where do we place the beginning of the conquering of the glorious land? That's it. And then the end. COP. At the time of the end. At the time of the end of the, everyone can have their opinions. Allow me to do this. Let me say here. I think we'll discuss it later. This is not from UC, but I will come there. So this is the king of the south, glorious land, Egypt. Now, Daniel 11, verse number 41, we said we mark it at the Sunday law. Now let's read Daniel 11, verse number 4. Let's now begin. Before I begin, we have a colon and we have a semicolon. So in the 17th century, the grammatical rules were as follows. When a colon is used, it was used to indicate process, all shifts to explanation, consequence, or interpretation. So the colon in the 17th century was used to show a pause or shift in number one, consequence. Elaboration. Language. Then a semicolon was synonymous to a comma. The only difference between a semicolon and a comma was a semicolon has a longer pause. So that's in the 17th century when King James Bible was being written. Now, when you read in Daniel 11, now we can read Daniel 11:40, it says, and at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him. So I write something here. We have the king of the south who is pushing. The king of and we know the king is who? The king of the north. So we have a column. And then it continues, and the king of the north. So it's a pause, a shift in what? Consequence, explanation, or elaborating. Are you getting me? Is it a consequence, elaboration, or explanation? How do you think the colon, how have they used the colon in Daniel 11 for them? Right.
This is pause and shift.
Okay, it's a pause or shift in what? Consequence, elaboration, or explanation.
When you say explanation or elaboration, is it on the same point? Or is it, it's also shifted, it's a different example.
So what about it? That colon?
But what does consequence mean?
Consequence.
Like, so it means both how would it if you can give me an example of a shift in consequence. I don't know how that shift.
So I said a pause or a shift.
Yeah.
Let's begin with a pause.
Yeah.
So it's a pause. Okay. We pause. And then we go either consequence. We can't use pause and shift at the same time. Okay. So we say it's a pause. And now part B is going to show us a consequence
Of the past.
and of the first. So there is an activity with the king of the south. Okay. When the king of the south pushes at the king of the north, we're going to have a consequence. Are we there? And the consequence is in part B. So I want to say that 11:40 part A is a cause and consequence of the actions of the king of the south. Because when the king of the south, part B. So we have part A, the king of the south pushes at the king of the north, and now the king of the north narrates. We use the word narrates. So this we can say, in other words, this is the cause, and then the effect is part B. Are we together? So we have here part B, 40, part B. Now we have the king of the north. So somebody to read for us part B. Someone to read part B.
And the queen of the nation under the screen like cavalry and chariots and horsemen and ships.
So the king of the north, as a consequence, as a result of what happened in part A, is coming against him. So this is coming against the king of the south. So the obstacle here, we have the king. So is coming against the king of the south, but in which man? Tell me, which man, Leonard? How is the king of the north coming against the king of the south? Just I want us to read. So it's coming against him like what? Like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. So how many? Three. So we have chariots, horsemen, and many ships. And then it continues, and they shall do what? With many ships, really. So that is where we have what? A semicolon. So, and he shall enter into what? Into the countries. So, in fact, I write here into the countries. He shall enter into. So, I want to write this. So, we come against him, and he shall enter into the countries. That is the word that's being used there. And he shall overflow and pass over. So he shall overflow and pass over. So I will come back to that first day. Verse number 41. He shall enter also what's the linking word between verse number 40b and 41? Verse 41. So we have the linking word also. What's the meaning of the word also? In addition. Okay. So in addition to what he has done to the countries, he shall do what? So the same king of the north. He shall do what?
Enter.
He shall enter into what? Into the glorious land. And what happens after he has entered into the glorious land? So we are told, and many, so countries would not be there, and many shall be born, but this shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon. So he shall enter also into. So the word also means in addition. Let's go to verse number 42. Someone to read around.
He shall stretch forth his hand, also upon the countries.
Linking words also. So verse number 42. He, the same king of the north, this time we are told it's doing what? Stretching his hand to whom? Which country we are not reading. Not feeling. So, verse number, he shall stretch forth his hand also upon whom? The countries. So we have here the country. So stretch forth hand upon. stretch forth his hand upon the countries. What the second part says, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. Verse number 43. But he shall have power over what? The treasures of gold and silver. So that is, so I will write 42 stroke 43 because it is the same for example. Let's read verse number 44. Verse 44.
Tidings out of the east, out of the north shall trouble thee.
So the little one between 43 and 44 is what? So we have that. But the tidings, so I will say we have tidings out of the east and north shall trouble him. So it's this way. So we shall travel. What does he do? Does he do? After being troubled,
Therefore he shall go forth
so therefore he shall go forth with what? So go forth with great fury to do what? To destroy and utterly make away many. So verse number 45, last one. So verse number 45 begins with, and he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So we have the glorious holy mountain. So shall plant tabernacles of what? Tabernacles of his palace. So the way we did in verse number 40, we said this is the cause, and verse number 40b is what? Is the effect. I can say this is the cause here. And we have the effect. So let's now read verse number 41. Let's give reading verse 41. So 41 says, he shall enter also into the glorious land, and many shall be overthrown, but this shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. So when he entered into the glorious land, we had, so the first one is the activities of the king of the north. And in this next box here, I'm going to write the effects. So when you enter into the glorious land, something is going to happen. So it's going to enter into the glorious land, and two things happen. One, the first one, many shall be done well, shall be overthrown, but Edom, Moab, and Ammon shall rule. So if you go to our dictionaries, the word escape has two meanings. So the first one is to flee, but in the aspect of confinement. What I mean is, this is the prison here. Somebody so this is the first escape. So the second escape is you are free like for example, kale alinifukuza hapo, amenishika kwa mkono wake, amenifukuza na toroka anishiki, unanielewa? So you are fleeing from freedom to what? To freedom from a threat. Are we together? So from here, from freedom to freedom. You are escaping, you are fleeing. I will say what's an arrest. Now let's read Daniel 11:41. We are told when the king of the north enters into the glorious land, we have a group of people who are called many. Many are overthrown, but Edom, Moab, and Ammon escape. So I want to write escape number 1, and we have escape number 2. I want to begin with the part B of Daniel 11:41. Which kind of escapees are Edom, Moab, and Ammon? 1 or 2? I will begin with Brian. So I'm saying we have 2 types of escaping. So the one, you are in prison, for example, you are under somebody's arrest, and then you escape, they confine you into freedom. The second one is when you are chased, you flee. So askari anakukimbiza and then akushika. So that's escape number 2. So in Daniel chapter number 11, verse 41, I will begin with part B. We are told that Edom, Moab, and Ammon, they escape. So which kind of escape? Is it escape number 1 or number 2? Right. Escape will be 1. 1, George. 1, Leonard. So not 2. 1. So what happens here? The king of the north comes to the glorious land. From this perspective, we assume the glorious land is what? They are free. So the glorious land has 2 components in quotes. The first component is Edom, Moab, and Ammon, plus who? Many. So these people are in freedom. Right? So let's assume the glorious land. These people are free from who? From the king of the north. Okay. So when the king of the north enters into the glorious land, he grabs all these people. Are we together? So, and we are told that Edom, Moab, and Ammon, they escaped out of what? Out of his hand. So it means he grasped these people, and then they did what? They escaped. Like, hakuwa na fahamu grasp. Ni kama uweke samaki kwa mkono yako, ikafanya nini? Ipotee. So it's like when he came to the glorious land, he tried to capture these people, Edom, Moab, Ammon, and who? And the many. But the many did what? They escaped out of his hand. So hand means control. They escaped out of what? His control. So I want to write here that when he came into the glorious land,
Please repeat the rest.
so when he came to the glorious land, these people were free from his control. And then from the language, part B, metumia, they escaped out of his hand. So it's like he tried to grasp them using his hand to control them, and then they did what? They escaped. That's why I said he was trying to imprison them, to control them, but they escaped out of his hand. Okay? The many or the Edom one, I mean the second part. So what happens? We have the many are overthrown. Using compare and contrast means they you have Edom, Moab, and Ammon escape. So now, is this a failure to the king of the north or success? Is this a failure? So when they are overthrown, in another language we say they are under his control. Okay, so their freedom is overthrown, and now they are being ruled by the king of the north. Is this a failure or success to the king of the north? So this is what? Success. What about this? What about this? So when they escape, it's like it's what? A failure, the king of the north. Let's go to verse number 42. So here, using compare and contrast, the word escape is opposite of overthrown. Okay? So let's go to verse number 42. He shall stretch forth his hand also. So this also here has linked verse number 40, verse number 41, verse number 32. It means the manner in which he did his conquering in the first obstacle, and the second and the third are the same. So it's an escalation. So then when he came against the king of the south, whom the Bible called the countries, he entered into countries. Verse number 41, also in the same manner, he entered into the glorious land. And also, in addition, he's going to stretch forth his hand upon whom? Upon the countries. And the effect is what? So the effect is, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. So the same language being used in verse number 41, we find it in verse number 42. So I want to write here. So Egypt shall not escape. It means, using the language of 41, they are overthrown. So it goes out. So they are under his control. So Egypt and the land of Egypt shall not escape. So it continues in verse number 23. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver and over all the treasures of the things of Egypt. So verse number 42 and verse number 43. Verse 42b, the land of Egypt shall not escape. And verse number 43a, he shall have power over the precious treasures of Egypt. It means these two phrases are linked by but. Okay? Are we together? So nataka tuangalie hiyo sentence. The sentence connecting 42b and 43a. Nataka tuisome uone kama hiyo sentence ina make sense. And then we bring some truth from there. So verse number 42 utaanzia part B. And the land of Egypt shall not escape, but it shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver and over all the precious things of Egypt. So it means the land of Egypt fell under the control of who? Of the king of the north. But is what? In the parts of speech. But meaning it's a conjunction, sindio? So the conjunction but means what? A contrast. Sindio? It's a contrast. So kama part 42b imetuambia Egypt did not escape. Why do you think they are using back again? Joy, are you understanding what I'm saying? See, part B tumeambiwa the land of Egypt did not escape. So it means the land of Egypt was under his control. Why is then are they using the word part to contrast the word? Because Egypt fell under his control. But now we are contrasting again, but he shall have power. So it means, from my perspective, it means it's a contrast on a contrast. So it means the land of Egypt, even if the land of Egypt was conquered, the only thing that was conquered in the land of Egypt was the treasures. Does that make any sense? Let's read again. The land of Egypt did not escape, but the king of the north had power over the treasures of God. I'm just showing you over the treasures of Egypt. So from my perspective, I'm seeing that verse is trying to tell us that the land of Egypt was not fully conquered. What he conquered is only what? The treasures of what? Of Egypt. So other aspects of Egypt were not conquered. So Egypt did not escape, but what exactly in Egypt did not escape? What exactly of Egypt did not escape? The treasures. Let me say the treasure. Part B of 43 it says, and so we have a full colon, a pause. So I don't know if it is a pause or a shift. I don't know if it is a consequence or an explanation. We'll discuss that later. It says, and the Libyans and Ethiopians shall be at his steps. So we have here the Libyan and Ethiopian shall be at his steps. Steps, it means he's standing above on them. So it means they are under his control. So now we don't have this. Verse number 44, it says, but. So he has conquered the first obstacle. So the first obstacle here, we are told, he did overflow. Then pass over. So if you are filling a cup with water, so the cup is filled, and then the liquid does what? Overflows. And does what? And passes over. So since wametumia the whirlwind or whirlwind is the same as storm. Imagine, for example, if you have a pothole on the ground, unamwaga maji. Hiyo maji itakuja ingia kwa pothole, ijae, overflow, ifanye nini? Ipite juu. Are we together? So when the king of the north came into the countries, he entered into the countries, he occupied all the spaces in the countries, na akafanya nini? Aka overflow na akapass over. So this is what I want to say, it's overflow and pass over. Tutaenda kwa concordance if time allows us. So I just want to read the Bible. So this, he overflowed and passed over. So in part number A, it seems the prophetic narrative is telling us that the king of the north was successful. Okay? It seems here we can see the king of the north was successful in dealing with the king of the south. But we will come there. Verse number 41, we are told he had partial success. He overthrew the many, but these people, Emma, did escape. In verse number 42, we are told Egypt escaped, did not escape. So the treasures, he had power over the treasures, and the Libyans, Ethiopians were at his steps. So the first obstacle
is at 43, the way you say it as a contrast in a contrast, then you finally, okay, quote unquote concluded that he only conquered the treasures. So does it mean, I don't know whether there are people in Egypt who are not conquered, but he only managed to conquer the treasures?
So I'm trying as much as possible to use the language before we do an explanation. What I get from verse number 42 is Egypt did not escape, but he had power over what? Treasures. Just say treasures. So it means Egypt as a component has more than treasures. So the only thing in Egypt that was conquered by the king of the north is the treasures. So we have other components that were not conquered in Egypt. And since I want to be truthful to Daniel, I just want to allow the verses to explain themselves and then we will bring other verses up.
I was reading other sources. It was like parts in this thing. The way you can every like translation would mean something else. From what we understand it by men notable, not the contrast part, the basic. So I don't know, but if you read other translations, which like of the Bible, not give James, is omitting the word parts, it's using something else, which would mean the difference in what we can get from that. So I don't know if that matters. Now, if you read book like Oxford Dictionary, for example, explanation of parts, it will bring a clause which shows that the past could mean this way and this way. Like the opposite of what we can see as a contrast. I don't know if that's
So while I was preparing for this study, I mentioned that's why I said when I was doing an explanation of what a colony is, I didn't use the 21st century. I just went back to the 17th century. I think I was fair enough when I was just using the King James Version and the concordance. Because the concordance go hand in hand, but we'll discuss that later. And I just wanted us to remain on just King James before we go to other translations. But if we bring some contradiction, I think we'll do. Yeah.
I think the challenge is, you make a point in that one part, which is a significant point. Yeah, so when you ask that, I think for sure come on that part means part from the original language, then technically, at the time of the conclusion you're making, it's difficult for you to go with without knowing that that part is what that person means. Because okay, other translation might have just ignored that part. But not from the original language, that part does not necessarily mean contrast. There's a huge it can be and so also all those things. The word they use in the original language means all those things. So when doing translation, because of the flow of the sentence, some might just omit that word, but the KJV directly translates and so the question is whether that part will be there because that's the point we're using to make that. So yeah, we can continue, but still some may remain stuck.
So
Yeah.
my okay, what I'm doing here is you see when I know the translation of King James Version has a lot of it can have some errors. So, but what I did is from when I began here, I tried to go to the original, and I didn't see if band has evolved, and if it has evolved, I think I got Batman contrast. It can mean more than one. It can have more than one, but I think it has not evolved to change the meaning from contrast. I think that's the point I was making here. I tried as much as possible to go and dig deep into that, but I didn't see any contradicting meaning of the word part from what I've been doing here.
Yeah, I think for me, I see it being a contrast. I'm not sure if it's in the same way you see it. It's like how I can say, so for me, how I'm feeling that is Egypt shall not escape, but it shall have power over the treasure. In the land of so in the land of Egypt shall not escape. What will happen instead is the king of the north will have power over the treasures of gold and silver. But I think that's still how Bat is used today. It shows contrast, but what is being contrasted is not the not escape, it's the escape part. When I say, for example, I will not starve you, but feed you. So it's like I won't starve you. What I will do instead is I will feed you. So there's a contrast but I'm not contrasting the not stab. I'm just contrasting the stab. So what I'm seeing happening here is the escaping being contrasted with the control. So Egypt will not escape. What will happen instead is I will have control over Egypt's treasures, which is still contrast.
Let's continue. We discussed that way. And if the original way to contrast what I'm doing here will contrast what I'm doing here. So first number 44. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. So yes, is in his mind, he thinks he has conquered the countries, the glorious land, and the second country is here. But somebody is going to trouble him. And it's the tidings out of the east and out of the north. So we have the word therefore there. Therefore, he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utter them away many. So since it seems, my understanding of that verse, it seems the manner he didn't get. So in the first obstacle, he entered into the countries and he thought he has succeeded. In the first one, he entered into the glorious land and he thought, since he overthrew the men, he was successful. He went into the third obstacle, he did the same, but now somebody is coming to trap him. And this is tidings out of the east and out of the north. So after he's being troubled, he goes forth with great fury to destroy and utterly make away many. So verse number 45, it says, and he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. So what he does, he plants the tabernacles of his palace in the glorious holy mountain. So we have another word there used yet. So again, I went to the original. I was using a concordance. So the word yet again is a contrast. So yet and but are contrast. But the only difference between yet and but is yet is a sharp contrast, a surprise. The expectation was after the king of the north has conquered all this, he will now be reigning over the whole world, reigning over all these people and their territories. Yet it's a contrast, a surprise contrast. Yet instead of him ruling now the whole world, he will come to what? To his end. I think it's a very sharp contrast comparing to that. So what comes here is he shall come to his end. So this, we have two sentences here. He shall come to his end. So yet, contrasted the first one, he comes to his end. Meaning, he has conquered all these obstacles. We expect the king of the north to be now reigning over the whole world. But now he's coming to his end. So the yet contrasts this. This is a sharp contrast. The second one is, we may think when he conquered the countries, he had friends. Those people were loyal because he was controlling them. When he conquered the glorious land, he overthrew the many. We may think the men were with the king of the north. When he came here, we may think the Libyans and the Ethiopians were with him. But when we come here, we have a sharp contrast. When he plants the tabernacles of his palace on the glorious holy mountain, nobody will be helping. He will be lonely. So all these people he has conquered will neglect him. And that's why the narrative tells us none shall help him. Now, so we have this what that links the sentences. We have the also. We have the also. We have but. Again, we have but in Daniel 11:40 part B. and then we have yet, and we have therefore. So I think we have therefore here. After being trampled, he will go forth with great fury. So this is where I'm headed to with this my study. So I've done the symbols, and we'll do the explanation of how the historical event. So this is what I'm thinking of these verses. So then 11:40 part A, when we see the manner in which the king of the north is conquering the obstacle, the king of the north, the manner in which he conquers these obstacles is the same. Here, he enters into the countries. Verse number 41, he enters into the glorious land. Verse number 42, he stretches forth his hand upon the countries. I want to say the manner in which he's conquering these obstacles is the same. He's using the same script. So historically, in our present moment, I think what it will help us is we'll go and see how the king of the north conquers the countries, how the king of the north conquered the glorious land. That will give us 1 + 2 is equal to 3. The manner in which he will conquer the countries will be the same. So doing now the compare and the contrast, we know this king, the countries is the king of the south, and then the countries here we say is Egypt. We believe it's hard to see that. So what I was saying here when I said the great 3 obstacles, when he came to the 3rd obstacle, he thought he has won it all, but he's having trouble here. He's having some rebellion. Somebody is challenging his power. That's why he's trying to plant his tabernacles, the tabernacles of his palace. Palace is where kings reign from. So he's trying to plant his authority on who? On the glorious holy mountain. The same way he did to the countries he entered into, the same way he entered into the glorious land, the same way he did to the Egypt, the countries, is the same way with frustration. I think when we come to verse number 45, we see a king of the north who is very frustrated because he thought he had conquered all, but he's being trampled by something which he thinks is small to his power. So this is out of desperation, out of frustrations. He will go with the great fury to make away many, and then later he will try to plant his tabernacles of his palace in. So the Bible says between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. So what he does is he enters into, he stretches his hand upon the countries, and he goes and subdues all the countries. And it's the same thing which will happen here. So the first obstacle we mark king of the south here, this is the beginning, because this is a stepping stone. 2001 is having Chapel Sunday law. So I will place the glorious land being the beginning of the conquering of the glorious land here. And then 2024 Egypt. And when we see the king of the north coming into his hand, none to help. So I mean now verse 45. So verse 45, we are told the king of the north, after desperation in verse number 44, he shall plant his tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall plant his hand, none to help him. Where we mark the king of the north coming to his hand. Where do we mark the king of the north coming to his hand? None to help him. No, I don't want to. I want one. Where do we see him coming to his hand? Where do we mark? So please, no, I want to point. The beginning. This we are saying this is the beginning. Doesn't mean that this is where the king of the south is conquered. The beginning. Where do we mark it? The beginning. Because here I was marking the beginning, the beginning, the beginning. So I want to say here, he will come to his end, not to help him. So I want to add this obstacle here. After his desperation, he's going to plant his tabernacles in the glorious holy mountain here. So right here, the holy mountain. That is the last obstacle to remove his fall, and then he will come to his end and to help. So the kingdoms of Bible, remember the crown the king of the north is having is not his. So when you come here, when he's trying to do this,
Question.
when
So is according to the 3+1 obstacle. So the fourth obstacle is it the tidings out of the distant north, or it is the glorious of the
yeah, that's a good question. So here he's traveled by the tidings out of the east and out of the north. So the Bible says he will go with great fury, go forth with great fury to utterly make away men. So 45 comes, he shall plant. So I wanted to use this manner. So entering into something. So he enters into the countries, he enters into the glorious land, he stretches forth his hand upon the countries, and the narrative we have is looking for this verse 45. When he's trying to plant his tabernacles in. Are you getting me? He doesn't plant the tabernacles in the tidings. So the tidings just trap him, and then he comes to plant his tabernacles in between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. So the manna, so he's going into the glorious holy mountain. I will use the holy mountain instead of the tidings. So, and I was thinking, there's a side note, the people who escaped him here, since we have the many are only be part of the king of the north by the time we go up to 42. Egypt is going to be part of the king of the north by the time we go to 34. And I will, by contrast, by compare and contrast, I will say on the right side of the issue we have many, the Emma here. Those people will escape. The many will be utterly made away. This will be part of the glorious holy mountain. I don't know if you see that only. The people who escape is control. The Emma will be part of the glorious holy mountain and itself. So let me make my conclusion. Then in 1148, we have a course. King of the south pushes at the king of the north. That cause we have an effect, because we said the colon there in the 17th century, the colon was used as a post or a ship to show a consequence, elaboration, or explanation. So the colon there is a post which shows a consequence of the activities of the king of the south in part A. So part B is a consequence of part A. So the king of the north, when the king of the south pushes at him, the king of the north comes with this. He comes with a whirlwind. And a whirlwind, when you go to the concordance, is an illusion of the storm. And he comes literally to destroy. So he comes like a whirlwind, which means he comes to destroy. And the tools in the hand of the king of the north is the chariots, horsemen, and ships. So from when I was reading the Time of the End magazine, and the chef does proof text, and it says ships stands for. So this is economic power. Chariots, military, and horsemen. He says strength. So when it comes to like a storm to destroy, this as a cause does an effect throughout our homeland. So since the manner in which he conquers these obstacles is the same, I came to a conclusion that the same way the king of the north conquered the king of the south is going to use the same strategy to conquer all these obstacles. And you've seen the strategy in the illustrations in the on board. So I would like to say that the king of the north came into the king of the south with chariots, horsemen, and many ships. We will do that how it was fulfilled in 1989. When it comes to the glorious land, because this is geopolitical, when it comes to the glorious land, he does the same. So what I'm saying is the coming against in Daniel 11, verse number 40, part B, applies to all these obstacles. He comes against like a whirlwind. He comes against the king of the south like a whirlwind. He comes against the glorious land because he's not coming to negotiate. He's coming to destroy. is coming against the glorious land like a whirlwind, is coming upon Egypt and the countries like a whirlwind, and he's coming against the Titans and the glorious holy mountain with one goal: to destroy and to control everything that obstacle has. So the coming against, I want to say that Daniel 11:14, part A, is a cause, and we have part B to 45 is the effect. I don't mean the activities of the king of the south, the north in Daniel 11:40 to 45 are independent of parts 1 to 39, but at least that's what I can see from the use of the column, from the wording themselves, and from the structure I have drawn here on board. So when he comes at the Sunday row here, he's going to Egypt. And in Egypt, so from here we say the first obstacle we have chariots, horsemen, and ships. When it comes to the glorious land, we have many are willing to overthrown. There is a point I want to make here. When he goes to Egypt, verse number 43 says he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver and precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and Ethiopians shall be at his steps. So this one sounds to me as economy, because the precious gold, silver, and all those. So this is all about economy. So as we see what's happening around the world right now, the king of the north is trying to control the countries which imports, we say Egypt, and is using this one here, the ships, because we said ships stands for economy. So what is going to conquer? Is going to conquer Egypt, all the countries, all the world, using his economic prowess. He's going to use this economic power he has to conquer this. But now when it comes to 45, the reason as to why he's going to come to his end, he's going to fail, it's because the tools he has will not help him conquer the glorious holy mountain. The tools he has been using to conquer all these obstacles will not help him to conquer the glorious holy mountain, because they are irrelevant. Because this is a different thing. This is a different sphere from what he's doing here. And then when it comes to his end, I think all his power seems to be nothing. So from the last point, from the time of the end magazine, I think the chair does a comparison of Libyans and Ethiopians. He does proof text, and he will say Libyans and Ethiopians is a representation of the rich and the poor countries in the world, which he connects with the Revelation 13, verse number 11, continuing on, where he will enforce the mark of the beast on the poor and the rich, the young and the old, all those. So I think that's what he does. And this explanation, I think, is consistent with the studies that have been done by the movement. The explanation of given was in and 43. They're very consistent with the development we're having of the studies of the Sunday law. So thank you for your time. We shall pray. Dear Lord in heaven, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for giving us the tools, the methodology, which have helped us to basic your word and understand where we stand in history. Help us now open our minds and our hearts to the sin of the nation of holy and to make a rich preparation for the thing that when you know this Sabbath, the other speakers who will come for us, hoping we use them as tools to speak with us. Thank you so much for everything. Bless us all in Jesus' name.